Lodash makes JavaScript way easier because it takes away all the trouble of working with arrays, numbers, objects, and strings. And Lodash's modular methods are great for iterating arrays, objects, and strings. Helps manipulating and with testing values and creating composite functions. All right, pure versus impure functions. Pure functions are independent functions that are easier to debug. They run off of clean code and they're easier to test. The same input always returns the same output, and there are no side effects when it comes to pure functions. I've given a couple of examples here, one of which is the function add, where we have a and b, and if we take the total of A and B, it's going to return total. So we console log add 5 and 5. We pass through 5 and 5, and it will return 10. That's what we call a pure function. There's no extra around it. Another one is when you have two arguments, first and last. So you could use this with names or a database of names. So we have a function with the variable full name. We have first and last. We're going to interpolate the first and last name. So when we do full name, when we console log full name, Kendrick and Lamar for first and last name, it'll interpolate those two to make it Kendrick Lamar under one string instead of two. All right, then another example of a pure function is when you do math functions. Math functions are also pure functions. So you can do an array of 1 through 10, and you can filter those. You can filter the indices in there and to where it only returns the odd numbers. So if you do 1 to 10 dot filter, and then you pass through lm, you can divide the number by 2, which would give you all even numbers, but you have the not equal. So this would make it odd. So you would just return 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. You can double them as well. You can do like the sum of all of them where it adds them all up. So all of these would return pure functions. So when I do node pure.js, here we get 10, which was the answer here, 5 plus 5. Then we have Kendrick Lamar written as one string instead of two separate strings when we interpolated the first and last name. Then we have the odd numbers, 1 through 10. We have the even numbers, 1 through 10. And we also have when we add them all up to get 55. And then we also have console log 1 to 10, and it just counts them all the way up. And that's pure functions. Impure functions cannot modify the DOM, and they also cannot access APIs, databases, storage, or other file systems. Impure functions aren't bad, they're just harder to test and debug. No data should be mutated in an impure function. So, for example, we have let y equal 5. So 5 is what we're starting off with, y equals 5. However, we can mutate that and change it through an impure function to where we use increment method, and then we pass through that function that y is going to increment 2 plus or equal to 2. All right, so, and we're going to increment it by 2, which will give us 7. And when we console log increment, you get 7, and then console log y, 7. Okay, so here I'm defining an array, called it numbers. I have 1, 2, 5, 2, 4, and 1. And then on the next line, I'm going to call a function. This is how you call a function in Lodash, underscore dot concat. And I'm going to pass through the parameters, the numbers. And my second array was passing 7 and 8. So when we print this off, it'll console log 125 24178. It'll concatenate that towards at the end of the array. So to see what that looks like, we can go inspect it in our console, and we have 125 24178. All right, and that's the length of our array. It's 8. So the next one is if you want to find the difference between two arrays, you can do underscore dot difference. And if I change this up, if I put 5 and 4, and we console log it now, we have 1 2 2 1, and the difference between 5 and 4 is that it's got 1 2 and then 2 1. It takes out the 5 and the 4, the difference between those two in the array. So with fill, we're taking the number 7 and we're replacing the numbers within the array between 1 and 3 with 7. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3. The 2 and 5 will become a 7. So it'll be 1 7 7 2 4 1. So when we click save, we get 1 7 7 2 4 1. I can change this 3 to 10, and let's just say we had the length of the array was 10, even though it's not, but let's say we did, all the 7s would fill in. All right, so when we hit refresh, we get 1 7 7 7 7 7, and it would keep going until you got to the 10th element of the array. For flatten, I changed up my array just a little bit. So we have the array 1 2 0 4 5 0 7, and we just want to console log and print off. We just want to print off Lodash flatten. And what flatten does is when you have an array within an array, or you have multiple arrays within an array, it takes those arrays and flattens them to where it's just one array. So we have 1 2 3 4, and then we have 5 outside of this array within the arrays, and then 5 6. And what it's going to do is combine all of these arrays within arrays. We hit save, we refresh, we get 1 2 3 4 5 5 6. The reason for that being we've got these numbers in order, but then we've got duplicate 5, so it's just going to combine this 5 with these arrays here, putting it all into one array. The next higher order array we have is Lodash index of, and it's basically going to tell me the index of the specific number that I'm looking for within my array. So in my array, I want to know the index of 7, and it's going to return the number, let's see, 0 1 2 3 4 5 6. So when we go, let's click save and we refresh, we get the number 6, because that's the index 6, because we wanted the index of that number 7. So another one that we could do is join, and what we could do is replace this with a dash. I want to keep numbers, and all this one does is it joins all the numbers in the array. So it'll be 1-2-5-2-4-1. So when we go here and hit refresh, we've got our array joined together. And you can put anything here, like if I wanted to do like a unicorn, like unicorn, 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 then 1 unicorn, 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 2 unicorn, 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 5 unicorn, 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 2 unicorn, 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 so on and so forth. Okay, for this one we can do Lodash first, and what it'll do is give you the very first number of the entire array of numbers. So when we run this and print it off, it'll give us the number 1, because the number 1 comes first. So when we go over here, click refresh, number 1 shows up. You can do last dot last, and we'll just close that out there. And it should just show 1, the number 1, because that's the last number in the array. So we hit refresh, and 1 shows up. So the next one we have now is the nth. So when we use nth, basically we're selecting any particular index of the array. So I have numbers out of my array of numbers. I want to get -2, so it should return the number 4, because 4 is in the second number from the end. So here, and we hit refresh, we get 4, because that's the number that should print off. 1, 2, -2 from the end. Okay, so for Lodash remove, we're still using the same numbers up here in our array. What we want to do is create a new function that's going to remove all of the even numbers out of the function, our original array. So we have remove from the array of numbers. We're going to use this function that will return any number divided by 2 to give it an even number. We want to remove all of the even numbers. So instead of this array, we'll get 1. We should print off 1, 5, 1, because it's going to take out the even numbers. So when we hit refresh, we get 1, 5, 1. You can also do reverse, and this just reverses the array, so it'll be 1, 4, 2, 5, 2, 1, like so. Okay, so with slice, we're going to basically be taking out the numbers within the array that we specify. So we have 1 and 4, and what it's going to do is remove the numbers 1 and 4, as well as our last one here. So we should get 252 printed off in our console log. So when we click refresh, we get 252. So the next one we have is _.take, and what it does is it takes the two numbers from the left, 1 and 2. So we'll save this, and we'll go here to refresh. It's 1 and 2. It defaults the numbers on the left, but let's just say we wanted to take the numbers on the right. We could do take right, and let's just say the 3 numbers on the right, 2, 4, 1. That's all we would do there. And we have 2, 4, 1. It takes the 3 numbers because we have take right. In the event that you have repeated numbers and you just want to get the one of a kinds, you can do unique, UNIQ, and it'll take out all the duplicates. So when we go here, we just get 1, 2, 5, 4. And the reason for that is because 2 and 1 are duplicated. So they'll only show one of those. They'll only print one of those. Okay, so for each, what you can do is you can actually use this one for an array or an object. I chose to use this as an object this time. So I have a value and a key. My value, name, key, Chaz, age 3,000 years old, location, Nashville, Tennessee. My hobbies include knitting, coding, solving Rubik's Cubes, and my favorite band is Wolfpack. All right, so when I print this off, it's going to show object as a collection. It's going to show this as an object in a collection. So let's save it. So here we have it in a collection, and we've got the value key, value key, value key, value key, and yeah. For every, we have to enter the collection of numbers. Then we will want to know if the index of the number is equal to the value. And when we run this, it should return as true. So when we go to our console log, and says true. So here we have with our user collection, we've got 2 users with the same name, Teresa, And what we want to do is find the user named Teresa who comes up first. So we have let first Teresa equal the method of find, and the user collection that goes through, and user with the user property is equal to Teresa. And we want it to print off first Teresa, so when we look it up in our console log, it'll print off the user Teresa, age 90, active, false. So we go inspect console, and there we go. The next one is flat map, and what this one will do is just create an array within the arrays, and we want it to return the array of 1, 2. So for every index, it'll return 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So it should do that 7 times. So click save, click refresh. We've got 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So for the next one, I have an array of numbers 15, 22, 10, 14, 15, 10, 17. And what I want to do is group these numbers within the test. If they pass the test, it'll ring out true. If they don't pass the test, it'll print off false. So what we have, numbers, my array of numbers, and then I was going to pass through with the modulo of 2, which just means even. So if it's an even number, then it'll be true. So let me see, 22, 10, 14, 10 will be our indices that will print off true. 15, 15, and 15, 17 will be false. So when we go to the console, click inspect. So we have 15, 15, and 17 are false, and then 22, 10, 14, 10 will be true. So it will be true. Those are the ones that were odd did not pass the test, and then those that are true did pass the test. Okay, another example is the dot includes, Lodash includes method, and what that means is that it can actually go through array or object. So we have the array of numbers here, and what includes will do is it'll run through the array to see if it's true or false. It'll test if this number 15 is one of the indices in the array. So it is 15 is located here, and it should return true. So when we go and inspect and refresh, it returned true. Now if we change 15 and we test a number that isn't there, like 7 is not located, so what we can do is save and then go back, hit refresh, and it returns false because 7 is not included in our array. It also works for objects, so if you test for the my object, and let's say that we want to see if Chaz is located there, or not Chaz, we can just do Bob. Okay, we go back, we hit refresh, and it's false. Now if we go back and we do, let's just say Nashville, go back and click refresh, Nashville shows up, it's true. So it passed the test there. Okay, so for this one we have the dot map method, and what it's going to do is go through our object array and give us it's going to map out whatever property that we specify here into a string. So we can use name, and what it's going to do is just map out Supreme, Big U, Haitian Jack, just the names only. So when we go here and click refresh, we have Supreme, Big U, Haitian Jack. We can change name to any property that we want. If we just want to do location, and it will change it to the locations that are available. Okay, the next one I have is dot order by, and with the order by method, what it's going to do is arrange the object array in order. So I've created an object array where we have some names: Supreme, age 61, location Queens, and two others that are arranged by name, age, and location. And what this will do is it will put our object array in order by name first, then by age, and we have it going in descending order. So the name and the age will be in descending order, which means that it will not go in alphabetical order, it will go backwards. So when we look this up, let's hit save. Then and here we have our object array, and it goes in descending order. Supreme first, Haitian Jack second, Big U third. Right? We also can change this if we want to make it ascending by name. We can click refresh, and B comes before H, comes before S. So Big U, Haitian Jack, Supreme. So here we have sort by, and sort by is going to take our object array and it's going to sort them by age, then name. The name doesn't matter here as much since there's no collisions, but the main difference between sort by and order by is that sort by will only go in ascending order, whereas with order by we could go in descending. So we don't have that option here, but it is still pretty cool. It's going to rate these from lowest to highest. So Big U's age would come first since it's the smallest or the lowest. Then it'll take Supreme, age 61, and then Haitian Jack. So when we click save, refresh, we have Big U, age 56, Supreme, age 61, Haitian Jack, age 63. Once again, going in ascending order. Okay, for the next one we have reduce, which is basically going to give us the sum of our array that's seen up here. We're going to pass in the collection of numbers, and then we'll have the callback and then the initial value. And all this means the ACC stands for accumulation, and the val stands for value or the current value, and it's going to go through each current iterating value. So it'll do 15 plus 22, and that number plus 10, that number plus 14, until it gets to the end. And we want it to start at 0. So what it will return is the sum of 15 plus 22 plus 10 plus 14 plus 15 plus 10 plus 17. So when we click save and we go to inspect, we see that the sum is 103. Okay, so for this next part, we will go over how to utilize string functions in Lodash. And the first one's one of my favorites, which is the camel case. And when all you have to do is you can console log underscore dot camel case and type in the string that you want in the parentheses. And mine just says, hello there, I am sleepy, which I am right now. But it's going to take this entire, or both of these sentences. I guess I can put something there. But it's going to combine all of these, and it'll capitalize the first letter of each word except for the H in hello, hence camel case. And there it is. Hello there, I am sleepy. The first letter of each one is capitalized except for the H. Okay, for the next one we have underscore dot capitalize, the capitalize method of Lodash. And what it's going to do is it'll take this phrase here, which is not capitalized at the beginning. The T and D is lowercase. It's going to take this phrase and it'll console log, it'll print it out into the console. But then once we use a different variable, once we use result, it'll capitalize phrase. All right, so we're going to console log phrase first with no capital letter, and then we'll console log result, which will give us the capitalized method from Lodash. So we click save, we go here and click refresh, and you see the first sentence. This was phrase, and this was result with the capitalized method from Lodash. Okay, so for the next one we have the kebab case, and with kebab case it's just gonna basically string along the strings. So we have Marshall Mathers here, which is the real name of Eminem, and what we can do is with kebab case, instead of having this space here, it's gonna put a dash in between, and it connects the two strings together. All right, so then the thing about kebab case is it doesn't matter how it's typed, it's always going to string them together, so to speak. So we have Marshall Mathers, it's still going to be Marshall-Mathers, and this one will still be Marshall-Mathers, this one will still be Marshall-Mathers, and on top of that, it will be lowercase. So when we click save, go here, you've got Marshall Mathers. No matter how you slice it, it's always going to look the same. So the kebab links it together. That's the better way to put it. It links it together. Okay, for the sake of time, I'm going to try to knock out 5 at once here, since they're kind of all the same syntax, just with the change of method. So the first one we have is lowercase, and it's just naturally going to take our capitalized letters and make them lowercase. Uppercase does the opposite. So if you type something in lowercase, it'll make it uppercase. So our M's will be uppercase here. And then for lower first, it's going to change our uppercase first word in the string and change it to lowercase. That's why it's lower first. So this one will be lowercase m. This will still remain capital. And then for upper first, it will make this one uppercase, the uppercase one here. So what I can do, yeah. And then for snake case, it will have an underscore in between the space of our string. Kind of looks like a snake. All right, so when we hit save, we go here. We've got our lowercase. We've got our uppercase. We've got our lower first, because the first word is in the string is lowercase. Then we have our upper first, and then we have snake case, which is the underscore in the middle. Okay, the next one we have is starts with. I just created a string that has the variable alphabet. We want to know, does the alphabet start with A? And starts with will be our method. It's going to look at our string, and if it begins with that, then that's going to be true. It's going to return the Boolean true. However, if we put another part of the string in relation to its position, if it's not starting with that, then it's going to return false. Z does not start the alphabet with false. However, if I put the actual position that Z is located in, which is 25, if we count from 0 to 25, Z actually does start the alphabet. So this one will return true. So it'll be true, false, true. When we hit save and hit refresh, we get true, false, true. Okay, so for trim in, what it does is it takes the end part of the string and it trims the white space that is there. So here we have a string variable set to sentence, and it's got white space in the front, in the middle, and at the end. With coding is fun in the middle. There are 10 spaces within each space. So what I went ahead and set up was to print off the sentence before trimming. It'll have a placeholder for start at the beginning and a placeholder for end in the white space so that you can visually see the white space in the console log. And then it'll have the amount of characters in the sentence plus the sentence itself with a number here. It's going to tell us the length of characters within that string. All right, then afterwards it'll be the result of trim in. When we use that method, we'll have the sentence after trimming, still with the placeholders in the white space. You'll be able to see how the length of the string has decreased because it's been trimmed. The white space at the end will decrease. So we want to pay attention to the length of the characters. So when we console log it out, we have the sentence before trimming looks like this. We have the white space here, and this is where the white space ends. The amount of characters in this sentence was 42. All right, so from beginning to end, there are 42 characters because you do count the white space. The sentence after trimming goes down to 32 because we did the trim end. And if you notice, we took the white space out and there were 10 spaces in between. 42 minus 10 is 32. All right, for trim start, it's the same thing. It's just in reverse. So I just changed the method out to trim start, and instead of trimming the white space at the end of our string, it will trim the white space from the beginning of the string. So when we console log that out, we have the same sentence before trimming, looks exactly the same with 10 spaces in between, 42 characters in all. But the sentence after trim start, we notice that the trim happens in the white space at the beginning. So now there's 32 still. All right, next we have the words method in Lodash. And for the words method, it just basically pulls out the actual words from a string. So here we have the variable phrase. We have apples, peaches, pears, and plums. And it's going to first print off or console log the entire string. But after that, we'll use the words method for phrase. And on this one, it's not going to print the entire string, but it will only print off the words. The ampersand will not be printed for line 32. It'll just be apples, peaches, pears, plums, since we're using the words method, which only pulls out words. If you want to get an ampersand sign or another symbol, you would want to make sure you use regular expressions, and by doing that, using this expression here, especially with the /G, it will add the phrase in addition to the ampersand sign for words. So we will console log words 2 for that one. So it should return 3 different lines of code, and here we have it here. We have apples, peaches, pears, and plums for the entire string. And then with the word method for Lodash, apples, peaches, pears, plums, no ampersand sign. And then when we use the regular expression to include the ampersand sign, it shows up here. So the next one we have is truncate. And truncate allows you to shorten a string. And here I have a string set to phrase, once upon a time in a land far, far away. And we're going to print off 3 things. First, we're going to console log just the phrase, this string here, and then we'll console log the string, and it will be truncated. And what that means is that it'll have a ... like an ellipsis afterwards. And for the last console log, it's going to print using the property omission, and instead of ... it'll have brackets around the ... So we save, and when we refresh, we've got once upon a time in a land far, far away. That was our string. And then here's what it looks like when you add the truncate method. And then the last one is with the omission
We basically cut it off here, and we can put the truncate here though with the omission.